Hey everybody, welcome to Pocket Woodworking. My name is Matt and welcome to the first ever Pocket Woodworking State of the Shop. I'm going to open up the curtains for you guys, show you what's going on behind the scenes on the channel, and I'm going to start with a transparency report letting you know where the money for the channel is coming from so that you have a better idea of how things are incentivized. I'm then going to give you some updates and things to look forward to on the channel. And finally, I'm going to answer some of the audience questions in our first ever Q&A. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, we're going to start off with a transparency report. I'm going to share with you guys some of the metrics, including the revenue splits, so that you have a really clear understanding of where this channel is coming from. I think that's really important for building trust with you guys because I don't know about you, as a fan of the woodworking or the tool side of YouTube, you search around for a lot of channels, you watch their videos, and you're never really sure where the money's coming from, who's paying them to sponsor a video, how much they're making off of commissions for affiliate links and things like that. So I just want to lay it out all on the table so that you guys can trust that the information you're getting from me is my complete, full, and honest opinion. So we're going to start off with some just general metrics and milestones that we've reached since we launched around 2 or 3 months ago. And I have to say, I am shocked. I'm absolutely floored at the growth so far. I wasn't really expecting much out of this channel, to be honest with you. I'm just doing this for fun. I have a day job. The money that I do earn from this channel really just goes towards buying some of the cool tools and jigs that I've been able to show so far, like that really cool Milescraft one from a couple of videos back, things like that, that I can really just nerd out on tools with you guys. So without further ado, as of recording, we have 815 subscribers, which is shocking to me. I'm really excited about that number, and not for me, for this community in general, because the whole idea of this channel is, and I say at the end of every video, making it work no matter your shop size or your budget, whatever resources you have. And that's 100% the motivation behind this channel. So the fact that 800 people are on board with that mission makes me really excited for what's to come. We also have hit around 100,000 views, which is also extremely exciting. I thought it was going to take a very long time to get there. A lot of that has come from that straight edge video, which you guys seem to really be enjoying. I'm looking forward to putting out more videos like that in the future, once the budget allows for it. So really excited for that down the road. And make sure you're subscribed if you're not already to keep tabs on when that drops in the future. So really exciting channel growth overall. In terms of channel revenue, the vast majority of channel revenue so far, around 95% or so, has come from merch sales. So if you may have seen the little merch cards on the bottom of the video player, or maybe you've even visited my site at pocketwoodworking.com, which if you haven't, definitely do. I'm really excited that you guys are enjoying the products that are available there, hats, mugs, even things like projects, notebooks with the dot grid kind of pattern on them, which I really like. I'll show you guys real quick. So these are really good for drawing out projects and whatnot. The rest of the revenue, around 5% of it, is a combination of memberships and donations and super chats. It's split pretty evenly there between memberships and the donations and super chats in their own bucket. And that rounds out 100% of the channel revenue so far. Like I said, we're a small channel, and I'm not trying to brag with these numbers. Believe me, there's really nothing to brag about. Like I said, I just wanted you guys to understand where the incentives for the channel are coming from so that you can trust our coverage. So the channel is 100% fan funded to this point. That means that 0% of the channel revenue so far has come from sponsorships or affiliates or affiliate links. If the channel does start introducing some of those revenue streams, I think that this is a really important way to keep me in check and make sure that things are staying on the rails there. And obviously, if that ever happens down the road, I'll be completely, fully transparent with you guys on how that's working. And it's really important for me that whatever revenue streams the channel is taking in, it's done in a way that doesn't incentivize me to just push expensive tools on you guys. That's the biggest fear that I have as this channel grows. I don't want to turn into a channel that's literally just selling you expensive tools that you don't need. If you saw my straight edge video from from about a month or two back, you know that I'm a big believer that the $600 shiny tool is nice, but it's really not always necessary, especially in a hobby that's been around and a craft that's been around for centuries at this point, and people have been doing it with all sorts of resources and tools over the years. So I definitely don't want to be that guy that's just pushing Festool on people in my audience. I have a lot more respect for you guys than that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it as far as the transparency report goes. I'll continue to update this every couple months so that you guys can see how things are going. But so far, this is a completely fan-funded channel. All right, next up, I'm going to give you guys some shop and channel updates. Starting with a quick meet and greet. You may have recognized this face over here. Jerry. This is my dog, Jerry. You probably have seen her back there in almost all my videos. She loves to be on camera. She's very friendly, a Pomeranian mix, a little over a year old. And this is one of the two shop dogs. The other one is a Yorkie. He's a little bit more camera shy, so he's over in the living room. But in case you guys were curious, I've gotten a lot of questions about the name of this face back here. And yeah, so now you can put a face to the name. So there you go. There's our shop dog. So she's just gonna hang out the rest of the video. All right, next up, we're going to talk about straight edges. So this is just something I want to update you guys on. Since that straight edge video, my budget pick for that video was the DIY straight edge jig, which I'm super happy with. I've been using it regularly in my own shop since I built that specific one for the video. And I just want to share one thing with you guys that I didn't mention in the video, but I think might be helpful for you to know. So I have my beautiful DIY straight edge here. And just to orient you guys, this is the zero clearance side. And so when you're building this, and if you recall from the video, it's basically just a piece of MDF here, which is just glued to this larger bottom piece. When you make this, your circular saw will guide along this end, which creates that zero clearance edge over here. And the thing I just want to know is that when you're making this and you're guiding your circular saw, when you get to the edge, the front is going to want to jump off a little bit or move once you kind of run out of this bottom platform. And in my case, I didn't realize this until a couple weeks after I made the video, because really it didn't make that much of a difference in my cuts, but it's just something I noticed. As my circular saw dipped off the edge, it kind of screwed up at the corner and I cut in a little bit too far. This edge was not totally straight. So the way you can check that is just grab a speed square or ruler, put it up against the very edge, and that's pretty much it. You just check for gaps. Now, if you do have a gap, like I did, and again, it was very minimal, it didn't really affect my cut at all, but it's just something to keep in mind. So what I ended up having to do is basically just take my board long ways and basically just cut across. Cut off basically that not straight piece. And then once you cut off the edge, you do lose a little bit of length, but what you're left with is a straight edge. So there you go. There's a quick fix for that if you run into that issue. Or if you're not a dummy like me, you can avoid that issue altogether by just being a little bit more careful as you're running your circular saw across. So just a quick tip for you guys there. And also a reason why, if you don't really want to deal with that fussiness, another reason why the Milescraft track, because it's pre-built and it's made of metal, might be a better choice for you. It really just depends on preferences and budget, as a lot of things do. So there is my straight edge update. And the last thing I want to talk to you guys about was what's coming next. What are some of the upcoming videos? And what I'm really excited to share with you guys is the tool battles have been doing really well as a series so far. If you haven't seen my most recent one, Ryobi versus Rigid, definitely check that out. That was a really fun one to make. Bit of a sibling rivalry situation going on there. So that was a really fun video to make and hopefully a fun one to watch. And I'm going to be doing a lot more of the tool battles in the next couple of months for a couple of reasons. One, like I said, you guys seem to really be enjoying them. I really enjoy making them selfishly. If you're a tool nerd like I am, you know that kind of like researching and window shopping and learning about the different ecosystems out there is a lot of the fun of being a tool nerd and being in this hobby or in this interest. And another important reason why I'm going to be doing the tool battles a little bit more regularly is in preparation for what's coming at the very end of the year to cap things off. And that is the second edition of our Bang for the Buck tier ranking video. As I've been saying at the end of all of my tool battle videos so far, it's going to inform the next edition of that list. And that list will continue to be updated every year as I dive deeper into these brands, as the brands change, as the market changes, because as you know, the tool world moves very quickly. So I just want to make sure that that list is as thorough and vetted and updated as possible. And the tier and the tool battles help me take deep dives into each of these platforms so that when I get to that video at the end, you can be rest assured that these brands are fully looked through, vetted, and I'm giving you the best information I possibly can. So stay tuned for the upcoming tool battles, and of course, stay tuned for the tier ranking video that's coming again at the very end of the year. All right, and last up, I'm going to answer some of your questions. And something I've heard about a lot, not a specific question, but I've heard it a couple times in a couple different places, is related to memberships. Tell me about the memberships, tell me about the pricing of the memberships, and just give a quick overview. So I will. So we have one membership tier at this point. There's going to be more down the road at different price levels, but for now, Club Oak is the only membership tier, just to keep things simple. And the most important thing that Club Oak gets you is exclusive content, meaning primarily extended cut videos. If you know anything about the YouTube algorithm, it's very picky about the kinds of videos that it will promote into the algorithm and into the public. So those videos need to be pretty tightly edited, some of the really nerdy details and things like that. A lot of that stuff doesn't really play nice with the algorithm, I'll say. So for the public videos, I have to cut things down, but with the extended cut videos and the exclusive videos, I can really just let it rip. I don't have to worry about playing nice with the algorithm or anything like that. So it's a lot of fun for me to make them, and hopefully you guys are enjoying them as well. I leave some bloopers in there as well. So even if you hate watching my channel and you just want to see me embarrass myself, the extended cut videos are probably the best way to scratch that itch. So maybe you could check that out as well. And as far as pricing goes, one tier, but you can purchase it from two different places. You can purchase it directly from YouTube, which is the most convenient for most of us, which I totally understand. And there's some exclusive YouTube features that I can't offer separately. If you are looking to save some money, you can subscribe directly at pocketwoodworking.com for the same access to that exclusive content. You know, you have a lot of options in terms of pricing. And one thing I just want to mention is the YouTube pricing tends to be higher. And the reason for that, I've learned kind of the hard way the past couple months, is that Apple and Google are very aggressive with their fees. So if you want to purchase a membership and you want to do it through YouTube, I would just do this. I would, for the one time that you have to set it up and subscribe, go on to a desktop and do it from a web browser. If you do it through iPhone, or I think if you do it through Android, there's an additional $3 or $4 that they'll add just to cover the platform fees for the app stores. I don't have any control of that. No YouTuber has any control of that. No skin off my back if you want to subscribe through the browser and save yourself a couple bucks. Just a pro tip there. And I don't hear a lot of YouTubers talking about that, so I just want to make sure you guys are aware. And even on the browser, there are some Google fees and things like that, which is why the pricing is a little bit higher on that platform. And I'm all about giving you guys options and helping you guys get as much from this channel as you can, no matter your budget. So hopefully that helps, and that kind of explains how the memberships work a little bit better. Now the second and final question from the audience: should a woodworker be working off of plans or no plans? Should they just be winging it? And I love this question so much because my personality lends much more towards the latter half of that, just kind of being creative and figuring out things as I go and just kind of having fun with it. Now it depends where you are in your woodworking journey. If you're a beginner, you probably do want to start off with some plans that you can just understand very general concepts of basic joinery, basic wood shapes, how to cut straight edges and things like that, building up that very foundational knowledge. Once you have a couple projects under your belt, I would definitely challenge you to try and be a little more creative with it. I generally don't go into a project completely blind. I will draw out or sketch out at least a basic shape of what I want to draw, or basic functionality of what I want to have. And some of the dimensions and things like that I'll have a rough idea in my head, or maybe I'll write them down, maybe I won't, figure it out as I go along, but that's only because I've made projects in the past and you can understand these things as you go. And quite frankly, going off script a little bit and trying to be a little creative with it and not being so rigid with step 1, step 2, step 3, I think is a really good way to challenge yourself and to learn really deeply what you're doing. Because as you're making those decisions and you're not relying fully on somebody else's plans, that problem solving part of your brain kicks in and you have to solve little and big problems along the way. And by the end, I think you've learned a lot more. And in my case, I just have a lot more fun when I can just be a little bit more free with it. So I know that probably gives a lot of people a heart attack that I'm just winging things. But like I mentioned, I generally have some idea of a general shape or structure. But if I'm making projects for myself, I just have a lot more fun doing it when I'm being creative. So that's just me. Obviously, if you are building projects for clients, or even if you're gifting projects to friends and family, you might want to draw things out a little bit more detailed just to save yourself some headaches and to make sure that what you're giving them is a little bit more polished. But like I mentioned, smaller personal projects, for me, maybe it depends on the significance, but in general, I just have the most amount of fun when I'm just out there with a saw and a drill and just kind of playing with Legos, basically, seeing what happens. So that's just my style. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I mean, it really depends on what your end goal is out of every specific project. I'm kind of curious to hear from you guys. Do I sound insane? Do you guys also work that way? Do you prefer plans? Tell me about what you guys, how you guys approach projects. I'm really, really curious. So that is pretty much all we have for today. This has been the first ever State of the Shop. Again, I'll be posting these every couple months. And until the next one, as always, remember to enjoy the build. Thanks for watching.